First, let me start by saying it's an honor to be talking with you today. You've done so much for the Atlantic 10 and just basketball as a sport, so it's great to be talking to you.
Well, thank you, Aidan. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to not only this interview, but to the games today.
I'm excited too. So I've prepared a few questions for you about your experience in basketball in the Atlantic 10 and stuff like that.
All right.
What drew you to playing sports?
Well, as a kid, I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters, so 10 in the family, and I think my dad had this ingenious idea to put a basketball court in the backyard, so that way we'd all stay home and play hoops in the backyard, and they didn't have to search around the neighborhood for us too much. So that was how I got started, and you know, as a kid, fell in love with the game.
Do you think that your abundance of brothers and sisters made you more competitive?
I think so, especially 4 of my older brothers, who of course, the boys always thought that they owned the court, but you know, the girls had to get in there and show them how to play a little bit. So, but I think the big family was definitely ratcheted up my competitiveness.
So what drew you to coaching?
Well, when I was playing CYO basketball and then also high school basketball, we were very successful, had a lot of state championships, and I really saw my coaches as role models. And I saw how much they influenced me as a high school student. And when I went to college, the same thing. And you know, that was a profession that I felt like as a female, I really wanted to coach sports.
That's very cool. What do you like most about working in sports, and what's the hardest thing?
I think what I like most is the people. Obviously, just even walking in, I saw the Dayton men's basketball team coming in, and we get to see those players during regular season, and their coaches and training staff, and even my staff. We go to all these championships. We host 18 A-10 championships all during the year. This is just one of them. But I think the people is what makes my job rewarding, and what we can do for student athletes. And you know, really our teams and these young student athletes are going to be our leaders in the future. What's most challenging? I think what is most challenging is right now being able to, you know, manage budgets and being able to know that you have enough resources, enough income to obviously put on a championship like you're seeing here at the Capital One Arena.
So 2 of your sisters are college basketball coaches, correct?
2 of them coached. I see you did your research. I have one that's coaching now at Kennesaw State in Georgia, and I had another one, Mickey, who she used to coach at not only Monmouth College in New Jersey, but also SDSU, San Diego State.
So it seems like you guys have some basketball blood in your family. Where does that come from?
I think it just comes from having played as a kid. And we, like I said, we played in the backyard, and then we turned around and we went, you know, our elementary school, we had a great, you know, community CYO basketball program. And then in high school, we were very successful, and we had a lot of winning experiences. And I think that reinforced the notion that we could perhaps get a scholarship that would pay for our college education, which is exactly what happened.
So in your family, are you one of the older siblings or one of the younger siblings?
I'm number 9. Oh wow, I'm number 9, so I'm next to the baby. Of course, the baby's always spoiled. I don't know what number you are with your brothers and sisters.
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Oh, so you always had to like take all the punishment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know the deal. But yeah, I was number 9 of 10, and so you know, I had all my brothers and sisters to look up to.
So you've done a tremendous amount to improve the sport of basketball. Can you talk a little bit about the steps you've taken to improve college basketball?
Well, I think what we've been able to do, obviously bringing our men's championship to an arena like Capital One. We were the first college conference tournament up at the Barclays Center in New York. That was 5 years ago when they first opened that building. We've been able to negotiate pretty significantly nationally recognized television packages. So everyone across the country can see A-10 basketball. In addition to that, we've been able to do a lot with our women's championship, which we're one of 5 conferences that have a neutral site. But I think what we're most proud of is we expanded our postgraduate scholarship program, where we give scholarships to our graduating student athletes. And we raised that number from 2 to 14. So now 1 person at every A-10 school gets a postgraduate scholarship. So they're all really great milestones that I think the league and certainly my staff and I are proud of.
So as one of the first women to do what you're doing, do you feel as if you faced any particular challenges because of your gender?
Well, I think there are challenges out there. I think there is sometimes a perception that sports, athletics, maybe, basketball as we know it at the NCAA level and football is a man's world. And so I think what I try to do is to always, work really hard. And I think it's important to differentiate that doing your job well can be done whether you're a man or a woman.
What advice would you give to young girls trying to succeed in sports?
The biggest piece of advice I would give them is, to work hard. It's a very competitive professional career. There are a lot of people that just would love to do any job, any position in sports. So if you're a young girl and you want to be a reporter like yourself, you want to be an administrator like I am, you want to be a coach like I was once, I think you have to prepare yourself. You have to educate yourself. You have to get good grades in high school. You have to have good grades in college. And then you have to be able to be willing to work to be able to move yourself up the professional ladder.
So to prepare for this interview, I read about your life, and reading about it almost seems like a biopic. If there were a movie made about your life, who would you want to play you?
Oh, that's a great question. Who would I want to play me? I'm not sure who I would want to play me. I think, you take some of the, great actresses that are out there, and you see somebody like, Julia Roberts that has played so many different roles of, being a career woman and being a mother and all of these kinds of things. So I don't know, but that's a really good question. I just hope if they do it that somebody really good plays me.
You've done so much to enrich this conference. What projects do you have in the pipeline that you're excited about?
Well, what we're excited about after this championship, we're going to go back to New York Barclays Center for 3 years, but we'll be putting out bids for our men's basketball championship that will begin in 22, 23, and 24. So that's exciting. The other thing that we're really looking forward to right now is we're trying to really elevate all of our other A-10 championships. We have 6,000 student athletes that participate in A-10 sports, and so we want to be able to do a first-class championship, have the best playing venue so that those young males and female student athletes have a chance to not only win a conference championship, but perhaps to go on and win a national championship.
So you're just not the commissioner for basketball, you're the commissioner for everything?
For everything, all the sports.
So having so much basketball blood and being so interested, how do you find time for the other sports?
Well, I make time. It's important in the fall. Cross country is our first championship, and our cross country meet alone has about 1,000 athletes running in it. So it's a lot of fun, and I think it's important, to schedule your time well. And I try to get to our championships. A couple weeks ago, I was at our swimming championship that was out in Ohio. We had our track championship, volleyball championship. So, there's enough to go around, and I have to give great credit to my staff. You've met Debbie, who's on my staff, but we also have a ton of excellent staff that can get out and go to the championships if I'm not available.
So as you mentioned, what a venue to have your championship. How do you feel about having your conference championship in such a prestigious and amazing venue?
It's exciting. Everyone always says to me, especially when we start this week, people will say, "Oh, Commissioner, I bet you're really tired because you're preparing." And to be honest with you, myself and our staff, this is a time of the year when we're probably the least tired. We probably get the least amount of sleep, only a few hours a night, but the adrenaline is pumping. We're excited. There's an opportunity for teams to win and get their championship ring on their finger and then go to the NCAA. So it's a very exciting time, and I think being in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, being in a fabulous building like Capital One Arena, even when you see the fans enjoying it in the concourse and shooting Papa shots and buying merchandise, it's the best time of the year, March Madness. You have to love it.
How often do you get to attend games, meets, matches?
During the year?
Yeah.
Well, I try to get to every campus at least once. So we have 14 schools. And then what I try to do is then get to campuses a second time if they are hosting our championship, or if we're hosting meetings, or if we're doing, say, a leadership symposium with our Student Athlete Advisory Board. I'll take that opportunity to get to the campuses too. But every once in a while I have to show up at the office just so the staff knows the boss is around.
Last question, what would you tell middle school or high school students about pursuing their dream in sports?
I would tell middle school, high school students, if you are passionate about something, then you need to pursue it. You need to be a great student. You need to go to class. You should get great grades, but you should pursue it. And somehow, some way in this great country of ours, America, you can do what you're passionate about and figure out how to get paid for it. So that's what I would tell everyone.
Thank you. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you. It's great talking to you too, Aidan. Good luck.